Fans, welcome to the NXT Vengeance Day 2024 watch along presented by Game Up Hard Hydration. Dealing with some early technical difficulties here, but now we are on point. Thank you for joining us. The pre-show is still playing. We're seeing the hype video for the Trick Williams Ilja Dragunov match. There are a bunch of great matches on there. But before we get started, let me play a couple quick commercials while I get us set up on Instagram.
Read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by Russellville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harris, and Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories, including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at Russellville.com. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
Well, tonight it is going to be a solo watch along, so I'm going to be doing things a little differently. I will be keeping the graphics for the match up on the screen because you don't need to see my well-lit head. I will be talking to everybody in the comments just the same as we usually do. This was just kind of a last-minute thing we put together, and AJ Strangebrew cannot be here. Dave has work in the morning. He was always out for it, but we've been enjoying the feedback and the interaction we get with people through these watch-alongs. So we wanted to still try and keep them going. And we all went to the NXT Deadline show in Bridgeport. It was a great show. And even though I don't keep up with NXT regularly, I am always blown away by the shows that they put on. So I definitely wanted to, get in on this one and see what's going to happen. Let us know in the comments who you think's going to win. What matches are you excited for? Personally, I'm excited for Dragon Lee versus Oba Femi. That championship match. How can you not be excited for Trick Williams? And the no DQ match between Dijak and Gacy. Now, before I crack my first Game Up Hard Hydration for the night, let's play a little video so you can find out all about the people that are bringing this watch along to you. If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store. Sorry, getting caught up in all this championship talk while the commercial plays out. This is going to be a little less smooth than usual because it's a one-man show tonight, and I don't have anybody to throw to for the little transitions. But one thing I got to do is to fulfill our sponsor, Game Up Hard Hydration. You just heard the commercial. I'm going to pop the top. Take a quick sip. 4 great flavors in the 8-pack. I got to say, orange and fruit punch are my favorites. Now I'm going to play one last commercial for you, and then we are going to get back to NXT Vengeance Day.
Hey, all you got young wrestling fans out there, listen, Oba Femi has got a book. It's called Wrestle. Right there. It's got some dead good stories in there about some dead good wrestlers.
Read stories of Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erich, Scott Casey, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Mr. Fuji, Ron Bass, Bruiser Brody, Mike Davis, the Grappler, and many others.
And I guarantee you one thing, that it'll be the best dadgum read you've had in a long, long time.
Get your book today at Russellville.com or on Amazon. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
Now, I can't recommend that Black Bart book enough. I am almost all the way through it right now, and it is just chock full of stories. Like, Vinnie Barry gets better as a writer with each book. Lance by Chance, I didn't think I could care about Lance Von Erich, but yet when you hear his story laid out, it's beyond compelling. Pro Wrestling Vault Volume 1, Volume 2, chock full of great stories. And they're great because you could just pick it up, read a couple stories, put it back down, and you fly through it. But Black Bart, this is another guy that I didn't know much about going in, and the book itself is amazing. Now, you can see from these NXT pre-shows, they have gotten this standard kind of, they do the pre-show in a studio. I can tell you from being there live, when the pre-show starts, they play it on the screen, on the big screens in the arena. So everybody in the arena is seeing this right now. I thought it was like they had a special spot designated somewhere for this, but that wasn't the case. They do it in a studio, and it's a good recap because, especially for people that don't follow NXT regularly, it's a way for you to be able to catch up with these stories. Now, I hope that Dragon Lee can get that North American title back tonight. This 6-person mixed tag match is probably the thing I'm least excited about, but I don't regularly follow NXT, so I don't know if there's a story there. Let me know if the D'Angelo family versus OTM has a story going in. Dijak and Joe Gacy, this has to be the match that I'm most excited for, just because Dijak, I've seen him so much up here in the Northeast. Ilja Dragunov versus Trick Williams, being in that arena, seeing how they reacted to Trick Williams, I would be very surprised if he doesn't get the title tonight. Dragunov, I don't know how much more he can do in NXT. And this is interesting. You got Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams versus Bron Breaker and Baron Corbin. Dusty Classic is great every year. Bron Breaker and Baron Corbin, kind of a team that I would not have expected. And you got to wonder if the Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams is going to play into the main event. Now, if you want to know what's coming up in programming for us, let me check. This Tuesday, we have our interview with Jordan Pierce Owens, the creator of the Florida 100, coming out. Next Tuesday, February 13th, our interview with James Beard, referee for World Class. Big in the Texas scene, appeared in the Iron Claw movie. This is a great interview. You're going to want to check it out because he talks about being on set of the Iron Claw. February 20th, we have Drake Xavier, the Natural 20. If you follow us calling New Heights Wrestling, you know who Drake Xavier is. And this is going to be, we have a few interviews with New Heights Wrestling talent lined up. Now, February 27th, we landed a big interview with Landon Hale, the Good Doctor. You've seen him at Beyond Wrestling. You've seen him on the Scenic City Invitational. And if you've been on our YouTube channel, you saw him at the Grizzled Great Get-Together facing Brad Baylor. And March 5th, we have Kelly Clark, Mr. Personality. This is a young kid, student of the game. It's rare that you see somebody this young that watches wrestling so old and is a fan of older wrestling. That, if you're not familiar with Kelly Clark, that is an interview you're going to want to check out. Now we're getting close to the top of the hour. kickoff show is winding down, and I'm waiting to see what is going to kick off this show tonight. Anybody watching, let us know in the comments match you're most excited for tonight. During each match, I'm going to ask who you think is winning that match. Let's keep this comment section going. I know it's going to be a little bit different of an animal with one person on the watch along, but we're all fans and we're going to enjoy this event together tonight. Signature kicking off right now. It's really kind of a rough spot for WWE right now. You've got Vince McMahon being gone from the company. You've got, just the reaction to The Rock coming back to face Roman Reigns and what it's done to Cody Rhodes. So there's a lot of talk about WWE right now, mostly in the negative, but one thing that I want to mention that is a huge positive is NXT. It's one of those shows, it just falls on a night that I don't always get to check it out. But every time I watch these big events, the big events really draw me in. I don't know what it is about it, but NXT is just very solid. I'm liking this video at the beginning, getting you pumped up for the event. It's always good to get the different stories going in. The Dusty Classic has made tag teams in WWE. It's been an amazing thing to not only honor Dusty Rhodes, but to feature up and coming tag teams, put people together. It's usually a huge storyline for NXT going forward. Roxanne Perez is a huge star. I mean, we saw her just before the pandemic. She was Roxy, and she was on top of Ring of Honor. We've heard Booker T talk a lot about her. Are you a Roxanne Perez fan? Sorry, I'm getting lost in my words here because I'm seeing the Oba Femi Dragon Lee part of this come up. And I think this was a great move to give. It seems like it made Oba Femi. I wasn't familiar with him before this, but I really hope that Dragon Lee's either taking this title or going up to like a Raw or a SmackDown. Dragon Lee is an amazing talent. Like I said, that no DQ match I'm hyped about. Now we're going through the matches quick here. There's a lot of interesting stories tonight. What story are you most into? I think the Trick Williams Carmelo Hayes tag team match is interesting and it could play into that main event. Because I'm assuming that heavyweight championship has to be on the main event. But let's just take a minute and take in the rest of this video. All right, we're getting the title screen here. Clarksville, Tennessee. That arena looks packed. I will be surprised if they don't have Jelly Roll in the crowd. If Jelly Roll is not in the crowd, then he's got to be on tour. But that is a Tennessee personality you could get out there. All right, Vic Joseph here. Wade Barrett. First matchup of the night, finals of the Dusty Cup. This makes all the sense in the world because you would expect something during this match to carry over to the main event. I remember at Deadline, they were teasing dissension between the two. And it's an interesting thing because Carmelo Hayes is such a personality. And seeing him from this Northeast scene, he is a star. But this whole thing with Trick Williams really catching on with the crowd. And I mean, he could go on to be bigger than Carmelo Hayes, possibly. I feel like this could be the end of Carmelo Hayes in NXT because I almost feel like what more can he do? And he is just destined for that Raw, that SmackDown spot. Bron Breaker. Here's another Baron Corbin. He is a guy coming from that main roster, has done good in NXT. Randy in the comments, I like Braun and Corbin as a team. This has been very interesting. I think it's rehabbed Baron Corbin. He was kind of stale as that Happy Corbin character. Since he came down to NXT, I don't even want to say came down, but since he came to NXT, I think it's helped him out a ton. And kind of this pairing with Bron Breaker, this is kind of something to help make Bron Breaker. Braun has to be on his way, I figure, up to Raw very soon. We saw his great show out in the Royal Rumble, had that Brock Lesnar spot. Could he be filling that Brock Lesnar role going forward, but just more of a full-time person? Randy, what do you think is going to be match of the night tonight? What are you most excited for? I got to be honest, I'm pretty excited for this match just because said it before, Dusty Cup, big thing. You got this put together tag team. Like, I feel like Bron Breaker makes Baron Corbin seem like more of a badass. And then you've got that obvious story there with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Got to tease some kind of dissension for later. Yeah, this tag match definitely has a big fight feel. And I don't know, like, do you feel the main event plays into that at all? Because, I mean, if you just look at it as a Dusty Rhodes Classic final, it's big in itself. But what it can mean for Trick's title contention later could be very interesting. Okay, we see Carmelo Hayes starting it off for his team. Bron Breaker starting it off for his team. Two guys that very possibly could be doing bigger things. Big lockup here. All right. Carmelo up against the ropes. Ref calling for the break. Slipping out there. Got to wonder if Breaker was going for that big strike. It almost seemed kind of even, like Breaker pushed Carmelo against the ropes, but then Carmelo reversed it, got out. See that big side headlock right to the midsection. Hayes fires Breaker off. Big shoulder block there. Nah, Randy, you missed it earlier. Dave definitely was out. AJ, this is the only night that him and his wife both have off. So I wanted to do this because I've been liking how the watch alongs have been going. So yeah, it's just going to be me tonight. I'm going to be relying on the comments, bounce questions back and forth off me. I'll try and maybe do some calling of the matches. I said earlier, I haven't been keeping up with a ton of NXT. So it's going to be, me popping in to see where it's at right now. Big shoulder block there from Breaker. This guy he's an 18-wheeler running into Trick Williams. Now you got Baron Corbin coming in the ring, a little more of a size even size matchup for Corbin here. There's a small possibility AJ could pop in later, but nothing is guaranteed. All right, you got Trick and Carmelo clearing the ring here. These guys definitely looking like a cohesive team. Now, it's very interesting, the situation with The Rock and Roman, because I watched the clip that supposedly got like the most negative amount of views on the WWE YouTube. And when I watched it, The Rock comes in the ring, he faces up with Roman, but he doesn't say anything. So you've got Cody implying that he's handed the spot off, but there's such a negative reaction. And this could be purposeful because The Rock didn't say a word. So it gives him a chance to maybe gauge interest in the match. So I don't think it's terrible yet. I think Cody could still have a match, maybe versus Rock and Roman. Cody's not out of the mix yet. But I mean, the negative response it's gotten. I got a guy at work that is not a wrestling fan that asked a friend of mine about it today. So it's interesting that it's getting so far around and it's getting such a reaction. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing The Rock versus Roman, but I just feel like they've given themselves enough leeway where it's not definite. Carmelo delivering the kick to Corbin here. Coming off the ropes. Nice little leg breaker there. Yeah, I feel like given the response this weekend, there's got to be a segment on Raw somehow addressing it. I don't know. I don't think it's the end of the world yet, but I mean, it doesn't look great at the moment. Baron Corbin, though, looking like a star in here. Carmelo Hayes coming off the ropes. Baron Corbin from behind. Oh, that was a hell of a move there. This is a great match to kick this off with, by the way. I feel like very high energy, you know, gonna get the crowd behind it. And we're going to find out who the 2024 Dusty Classic winners are. And I mean, if I can make a bold prediction, I think this is going to be Bron Breaker and Carmelo Hayes' last nights in NXT. I'm liking Breaker and Corbin as a team. Obviously, I should have been catching up with the, you know, Dusty Classic. Yeah, Trick has 2 matches tonight. I was making the call early that I feel like something in this match has to affect that main event match later. Corbin with Hayes in the corner, fires him into the opposite corner. Hayes going in big, selling that back. You know, Corbin and Breaker have taken some damage during this match, but they are looking solid as a team. Big right hand. Hayes down in the corner. Corbin dragging Hayes to the corner, getting the tag into Bron. Big strike to that midsection from Bron Breaker there. Those got to be heavy hands he's throwing. You know, good tag team psychology here. They got Carmelo kind of trapped on their side of the ring. He's got to get through Breaker to make it to his partner. Side headlock, fires him off. Oh, Breaker gets caught in the ropes for a second. Big lariat there, takes Hayes down, going for the pin, hooking that leg quick. They did have a pre-show. I don't know if you've seen any of the NXT pre-shows lately. They are just kind of a studio thing where you've got Sam Roberts and I'm sorry, I don't know the other 2 people's names. I only tuned in for like the last 5 or so minutes of the pre-show. But it's just a studio pre-show. They play videos. There's no pre-show match that you miss or anything. I don't mind it, but it's definitely a change from like other ones where you've got the pre-show where there's talking and there's usually a match in there. Bron Breaker showing off there, breaking the pin to do some push-ups. Yeah, the story of this match has really been Breaker and Corbin. Trick's been in there a little bit, but he hasn't. It seems like they're really trying to keep him out at this point. So Hayes is taking a beating. You got to love the tag team work from Corbin and Breaker here. Quick tags, cutting off the ring. And they're just a powerhouse duo on top of that. Yeah, that's the tough part with the pre-shows. Like, they want to emulate other sports by having like a talking pre-show, and it's not terrible, but sometimes it's a little too much talking. The last time we saw them eating sponsors chips on air. It's things you got to do to get your sponsors in, but sometimes it's a little too much talking. I like the hype packages. I like a little bit of talking, but throw in a match, make it a grab bag. Like, they always say the strength of wrestling is having a little bit of something for everything. And I think the pre-shows kind of missed that mark a little bit. Setting up the hot tag from Trick Williams here. Randy, what chance do you think Trick has of winning that title in the main event? The athleticism of Carmelo Hayes there. Crawling to his corner. He's so close to Trick, but Breaker is so close to Carmelo. Maybe this is Trick's night. Does he win? Oh, Trick Williams is in. Big kick there. Oh, another like big leg lariat type thing. Big rights to Baron Corbin. Big lariat there. Oh, on his face. You know, Randy, I could definitely see it. I mean, it's weird. Like, I could see him winning the title, but I could also see him just coming up short and making him that much more of a star. Iranagi there going for 2.5. I bet that crowd is going nuts right now for that kick out. When we were in Bridgeport, the reaction to Trick Williams in the crowd was so loud. Quebrada right across Baron Corbin's ribs, going for the pin. Corbin kicking out at 2 there. Definitely a great match to be starting off with. Corbin reversing there, has Hayes up in the suplex. Hayes gets out of it, elbow to Breaker in the corner. Trying to get the illegal man into the ring, throwing Breaker in there. Hayes is just so smooth in the ring. I'm surprised he's been in NXT as long as he has. Trick Williams off the apron. Hayes going for the pin. Oh, 2.5. I thought for sure Hayes might have it there. You know, these are two big guys they're up against. Breaker has the height, but he's also muscular. Baron Corbin has the height advantage. And you see on the other side, Trick Williams, very quick, very athletic. Carmelo Hayes, very quick, very athletic. Trick Williams has that size, also very athletic. Oh, the straps are coming off for Breaker. This is never a good sign. I wonder, could this be a tag team that goes forward from here? That was an amazing move. Bron Breaker hoisting Baron Corbin into the air. Is this a tag team that we see stick around? Maybe reunite again on a Raw or SmackDown? Corbin going for the pin. Hayes in to interrupt. Oh, deep six. Oh, Baron. That's the deep six there. Trick kicking out at 2.5. Looking like a beast. Yeah, it's interesting that they brought Wade back for this one. I don't know if it's going to be all night or just for this match, but it definitely, the announcing team's going through a bit of a shakeup too after everything. Oh, Breaker going to the top rope. Is he going to do a dive to the outside here? Oh, takes out Carmelo and Trick. Now, I don't have the volume up very loud, but it sounds like the crowd's responding to good for Breaker. Oh, Breaker and Corbin setting up their opponents on the top rope. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That makes it very interesting and probably explains that he'll be in for the night. Sass is here as well. Sass, what are you thinking of this main event? Or not this main event, this opening match on the event? I think it's really setting the energy great for the night and just showing you what kind of card you're getting from NXT. Oh, flips through. Trick coming out of nowhere. Trick is looking like a destroyer. Oh, Breaker in with the spear. 2, 3. Definitely an awesome start for the show. I think it's great that Breaker and Corbin won it. They were dominant a lot of the match. Trick Williams was so close to making the save there, but yet still so far away that this has got to come back on him later. Does Carmelo take this as a slight and get, vengeance in that main event, to pardon the pun? But this is the NXT Vengeance Day watch along presented by Game Up Hard Hydration, brought to you by Wrestle Black Bart. And since we got a couple seconds between matches, let's play another quick commercial.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store.
Now, I was explaining earlier, format going to be a little different because this is a solo watch along tonight. Going to keep the graphics up on the screen. Probably will be throwing the commercials every now and then. Going to be a little bit more silence. It's not going to be talking the whole time because there's not people to throw things off of. Sass, Randy, thank you for joining. I will still be talking to you guys in the comments, just not putting my face on screen because you don't need to see this big old lit up head. What's your guys' excitement for the Elimination Chamber here? Australia, so it's going to be at nod time, 5 a.m. our time. Yep, there it is, 5 a.m. Be one of those things I'll probably watch. Yeah, I might watch it in the morning. I don't know. When are you guys planning on watching Elimination Chamber that day, given that it's at that New Japan time slot? Dragunov's been an excellent NXT champion. I cannot wait for that main event tonight. This is a guy I could see going on to the main roster. Him versus Walter on the main or him versus Gunther on the main roster would be huge, I think. This guy is just an amazing wrestler that, he's good in NXT, but to me, I just kind of feel like, what more can we see Ilja Dragunov do? Yeah, that's a good point. And it's at such a weird time. Like, you wake up, there's probably chores you got to run around and do. Elimination Chamber is not like a WrestleMania where if it were on at a fucked up time like that, like WrestleMania, you would watch it. Elimination Chamber, it's one of those things you could probably catch later in the day. It's not like the biggest rush. It's not a problem we run into with WWE either, because usually, they'll do stuff on East Coast time, but now they're getting more worldwide. Luckily when you're in England, it'll be like a 1 or 2 o'clock show, like the day of the Griswold Great get together. The reason I think we didn't watch the Money in the Bank that day was because it was like a 2 or 3 o'clock show. All right, we got Gigi Dolan here, highlighting some more NXT talent. Now, if you guys had to guess, what do you think is going to be the next match up? Also, if you want to keep up with more Working Fans podcast news, pretty soon we will be commentating the Bulldog Bash from New Heights Wrestling. It just went down last night. Nice, gotta love Applebee's. The Bulldog Bash just happened last night. Dave and I should be getting the footage soon to commentate. That is going to be great because recently we talked to Kelly Clark again. We talked to the Galactic Knight, Shane Gibson. We have upcoming interviews with Waylon Barley. That's the one I'm thinking too. Gacy and Dijak. These NXT cards, they're nice, but they're short. You get 5-6 matches, and with such a hot opener, not that Gacy and Dijak is a come down match, but it's just, I feel like it would fit perfectly on the show after the pace that Dusty Classic match set. Now, are you guys regular watchers of NXT? Like, do you watch every week or do you just pop in every now and then for the big shows? We got a little bit of a WrestleMania hype video here. Now I'm going to announce it here. We're going to be doing a WrestleMania watch along. I got to figure out the day because AJ is going to one of the nights of WrestleMania. Dave and myself will probably be watching that from home. Since it's a 2-night WrestleMania, we figured we do like one night of a watch along and then one night just trying to watch it as fans, because it's the weird thing with having a podcast is everything seems to turn into content, and then you don't get to watch events just as an event anymore. You're watching an event to take notes for later or to do something else. So you keep up with it week to week and with the pay-per-views. I have to get back on the watching it week to week, because I always say, like, I pop in for these big events and the big events are awesome, but then it just falls on a night that's just kind of weird for me and I don't get to watch it as often. I'm actually job hunting for a new job very soon, so hopefully, I'll be able to get back in the swing of things. I'm watching the video here, Sass, and I'm beginning to think that our next match might not be that no DQ match. Now, I know wherever AJ is right now, he's very excited about seeing this women's match coming up. Big fan of women's wrestling. Always puts over NXT women's wrestling, especially. I mean, we saw them set this up at Deadline. Chance for Roxanne to get that title back. I think she's one of the best females in NXT right now. And I think this is going to be her night. Yeah, it's not a terrible move because, and that almost makes me think that no DQ match is going to be something next level because like that could have opened the show, could have been the second. You put it third or fourth, that thing is going to be a banger. Now, I've watched plenty of Roxanne Perez. I know she's going to be gold in the ring. I'm not as familiar with Lyra Valkyria, but they put the title on her, so it's got to say something. How is she week to week on NXT? Does she feel like the women's champion to you? Or does she just kind of feel like somebody almost that got the spot and doesn't necessarily deserve it? Oh, son of a bitch. Sass, I guess we were right. Yeah, and that's a big thing. Gacy was big, hardcore wrestler. I believe he came up. He might have done time in CZW, but I've seen him in GCW. Definitely could have gotten wild. They definitely tricked us, and I think that's the power of that video. That video got us so excited for the women's match that even though we expected this match next, we were like, fuck it. You want to give us the ladies next? We are ready for it. Now, I'm really glad with this new Dijak presentation. I love it. It's a way to, rehab him after Retribution. I was almost worried that was going to be his fate in WWE. And I think if Vince had stayed in control of the company, Dijak might have been in one of those like compromise situations and never would have come out under that shadow. Casey's another one. They put him in some, weird gimmicks, paired him up with some people. Hasn't been terrible, but I'm liking this presentation a lot more. Now, I probably should have said this earlier, but there's going to be a lot of people watching this broadcast that aren't subscribed. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit that bell, get the notifications, just so you know when we go live next. We put out a couple videos a week. We've been trying to get more and more on the watch alongs. Very good point. WrestleMania sign in the building. Will they add NXT matches to WrestleMania? Or is there a chance they could? We'll have to find out tonight when the next NXT event is. Because could they have an NXT event WrestleMania weekend? It would be a little overkill, but we're starting out with the weapons with these two. No, this thing is going to be a beating tonight. It's wild because you start off with weapons that wild. It's almost obvious that they're not going to, get to hit each other. But what stakes will they take it to? Now, anytime Dave and I call a match, I'm always going to mention the height difference that Dijak has. It's an advantage, but Gacy, sadistic, can get wild in there. If he could take Dijak off his feet and really bring the punishment to him, I think this could be something. And look at that. Look at that dive from Gacy. Not to say you couldn't see that from Dijak, because even though Dijak has that height, he can be athletic, can pull off those wild moves. Gacy definitely feels like a tribute to Wyatt, doing something similar, but like not trying to rip him off too much. With the dyad, they were really getting into that a little more, and I'd like to see how he develops. Is Gacy somebody you see is going to that main roster? Is it possible? Dijak setting up that chair on the outside. This can't be good. Interesting to see the duct tape in the ring. You've got the trash cans already. Dijak getting his head played off the stairs. Falls into that chair. Big chops from Gacy. Okay, we're going to get a runaround from a quarter of the ring. Off the... Wow. I was not expecting that. Usually I'll see people come with a lariat, but propelling yourself off the stairs into a cannonball, that is definitely innovative. Getting to the tables early. No, that's a good call. Better, like, Cassius Ohno was just somebody, I'm surprised he didn't make it bigger in NXT. It was great. Everything he did was amazing, but he never got, like, it was probably just how Vince viewed him, because he would make it, like, decent in NXT, but I feel like he wouldn't get past that main roster, like, opening match. It's been great to see Chris Hero get some stuff done outside of WWE, getting a couple matches in with West Coast Pro Wrestling, getting a job with AEW. All right, this is interesting. Oh, okay. This is something that you would tend to see like more on the indies, but I'm thinking the same thing. Like, this is a very indie-like move, but it's something that could look painful. And you got to give it up to Gacy. At least he's trying something new, trying to innovate these, hardcore spots. Because you're always going to see the tables, you're always going to see the chairs, trash cans. Interesting, he's bringing toy cars into it. Got the duct tape out there. Now that's interesting. They set up the spot, but they moved away from it. Gacy kicking out at 1 there. If they did light tubes, I could see Gacy bringing out a light tube. Like, it would still blow my mind to see it in this company. I could see him doing one. Oh, going for the pin. It's interesting. They're going for pins early, but they're both kicking out at 1. That gives me a feeling that this thing could be ramping up soon. Yeah, nothing that either man has done to each other has really kept them down. Oh, kicking the trash can spot. Gacy just sitting right up. Dijak attacking that can one more time. Gacy, though, fighting to get up. Now, has this been a feud that's been going on for a while? Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that this new character really, rehabbed how we look at Dijak. He could have been stuck in T-Bar and just never gotten another shot. Yeah, Mace was one. He went with Mansoor, and they were able to make something out of it. But I mean, it was death in the WWE, and Dijak could have been back in that similar spot. I just love the new presentation. The entrance is amazing. I haven't kept up with Macer Mansoir's indie stuff yet. They recently wrestled former guests of the show, Kylon King and Dustin Waller, the Miracle Generation. Definitely want to catch up with that match. I'm interested where a lot of these WWE guys, like how they're doing outside of WWE. Last night you had Nick Nemeth wrestle Matt Cardona at GCW in the main event out in Los Angeles. Big Uranagi there. Yeah, these guys both got lucky that they didn't have other gimmicks kill them. Oh, into the toy cars. I thought we were about to see that athleticism from Dijak on hand there, because in Ring of Honor, Dijak was a big man that could do the athletic moves. But you know, when big men tend to go to the WWE, they learn to wrestle like big men. And it's not the worst thing, but you kind of lose those extra moves. Like, oh, right on that chair. Going for the pin. 2.5 Gacy kicking out. Of course, my feed's got to freeze here for a minute. I'm going to drop out of Peacock, jump back in. Let me know if I'm missing anything big. Randy, how you enjoying this no DQ match, man? Oh, Dijak going to the top. Gacy got him. Are we about to see a German from the top rope? Oh, just missed it, but that move looked wild there. Yeah, they definitely missed the mark on that. Otherwise, this match, all right, we're getting out of duct tape spot. All right, we're going to blind him. This is, I don't know if I'm liking this or not. Sass, for a second, I thought he was about to pull light tubes out from under there. All right, getting a real beatdown with the kendo sticks here. The feast your eyes. It's been Dijak's finisher for a while. But yeah, he pulled up that ring apron, and just the way the kendo sticks were set, I'm like, no way they have light tubes. Dijak got to fight to get that tape off his eyes. That sucks because that could be ripping off eyebrows. Not a lot, but a little bit. There you go, giving that Bray Wyatt vibe in the corner. Oh, DDT on the chair. Gacy going up to the top rope. I'm not liking this. Big splash. Hooks the leg. 1, 2, 3. Oh! 2.5. I was about to be very surprised if Gacy won it there. I wouldn't have been mad, but to me, just being such a Dijak fan, I'm like, Dijak has to have this. Gacy. Oh, nice stick to the midsection by Dijak. Picking him up. Are we about to get another feast your eyes? Oh, there it is. Dijak going for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Dijak's got it. Definitely not upset with that match. Well, I'm going to make a quick run to the bathroom. So I'm going to play a quick commercial, and then you'll probably hear about 10 seconds of silence before I jump back on. But, you know, if there's one place I'd rather be right now than here watching Vengeance Day, it's in Wrestleville.
Read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by Russellville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harris, and Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at Russellville.com. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
Very quick pause, and I'm back. I got to ask, how is the watch along versus when we have more people here? Because anytime we talk about it, you know, amongst ourselves, we always say, like, the interest is when, you know, you've got multiple co-hosts talking back and forth off of each other. Tonight, decided to take a chance, kind of did it on my own. Are they selling this Chase U calendar for real? I gotta ask. But working hard, trying to make it entertaining here. Let me know. Is it decent? Right. Thanks, Sass. So the trouble with doing a solo watch along is there's a lot more talking. And unless you're kind of ready for it, like even preparing, I'm like, fuck, I don't know what I'm going to talk about that whole time. But you just got to kind of prepare yourself and do what you can to still keep it interesting. Luckily, we always have Sass in the comments, Randy in the comments. So, you know, if I get stuck for something for me to say, I can always throw it to you guys and ask. After that last segment, I'm not even going to guess what's up next with all these graphics popping up. Good event so far. We're an hour in, solid matches. You know, that Dijak match that lived up to what I thought it would. I mean, from the video package, you would guess we're getting the Tony D'Angelo six-person match. Now, Sass, has this D'Angelo family storyline been good in NXT? Because it seems like it's something that's been consistently popping up that I've seen. But like I said, I haven't watched regularly. And, you know, I've said that enough tonight that I'm going to start making it a point to catch up with NXT on Tuesday nights. Because I feel like Tony D'Angelo could be big in, SmackDown in a year or two. Sorry, I'm getting a little quiet here because I'm getting caught up in this video package because it's like I know a little bit about the Tony D'Angelo side, but these other guys I wasn't familiar with. And it's nice because this isn't something you see very regularly from NXT or WWE in general, how they promote teams of color. And I thought like Hit Row, I liked what they were doing there. But this is just giving me like, maybe new Crime Time vibes, but in a better way. So, Sass, do you think Tony's gotten kind of stale lately since he's fallen out of like that title contention picture? I'm kind of surprised that the D'Angelo family here are tag team champions. Like, I think I remember them winning it, but I don't know. It doesn't stick in my mind. Yeah, it's weird because like I see something in Tony D'Angelo. Even the female in the group could do something, but for some reason that other member there, he just doesn't strike me as like standing out a ton, and he just kind of feels like filler. Okay, I mean, I'm assuming this is the 6-person match. Can we just throw up the graphic? All right, this is an interesting look. All right, so at this point, we are halfway through the card. Gotta say, not familiar with these guys, but everything that hype video, were you getting Mexicool's vibes from that? I gotta say, that hype video has me excited to see what these guys can do in the ring. I like that they're hyping the Black History Month shirts. It's been one of many sore spots in WWE's history. Like, they have featured champions and teams of color, but sometimes when they try and represent those cultures, I don't know if it always hits the mark. And I mean, I can't say as a white dude that these guys are, presenting more authentic, but this feels less campy than kind of what they've done. Oh, the classic sneak attack. This thing is starting off hot. I got to be honest, this sneak attack might be like the one thing that had like got me excited for this match now because coming in cold for me, this really like jump starts things. Now I gotta ask the ladies in these two groups, how is their status in NXT? Are they known? Are they kind of new? Innovative move in the corner there. now with Vince McMahon gone, I have a lot more, hope for teams like this. I feel like if Vince were gone, like Hit Row might still be a thing. Now, both these guys in OTM are pretty good sized. It's not a problem, Sass. They could be, for all I know, they could be new because it seems weird to have like a mixed tag match, but they've been seeming to kind of, try and build D'Angelo. So maybe it's just a way to expand the family. I'm gonna be doing a little more NXT watching to keep up with storylines going forward, though. It's even like Dynamite. I've fallen off a little bit. I'll watch part of the show, but I haven't felt as dialed in lately. Tag team champs here have the advantage, taking it to their opponents. Oh, we're about to get a triple spot here. All right, they're looking pretty dominant. Yeah, it feels really weird to have a pay-per-view on a Sunday. That's why we don't have more guys doing the watch along. Dave has work first thing in the morning. It was just an inconvenient day for AJ. And I figured why not do a watch along, because anytime I check out an NXT show, it's always a good time. Plus, people have really been responding to the watch along. So if you happen to be watching and you're not subscribed, which chances are most people that watch aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification button. We do at least 2 to 3 live broadcasts a week, do a bunch of shorts. We'll get short videos out there from time to time. We try and stay active. The watch alongs is definitely something we've added this year, and it's been fun. Like, it's weird because it doesn't take the fan out of you a little bit, but you go from watching as just a fan to feeling like you have to commentate or you have to talk about what's going on. And it's an interesting new thing we're learning here. But I mean, it boils down to the one thing we did with this podcast when we created it. We wanted to talk wrestling with fans, with wrestlers. We've talked to referees, people that have written books. It's been a great ride. So the watch alongs is just another piece in our arsenal that we use. Yeah, I'd be very surprised if Stacks here makes it to the main roster. Big double strike in the corner there. Yeah, we saw the commercial for WrestleMania 2 weeks or 2 months away. God, I'm getting confused. We're about a week away from my birthday. 2 months away from WrestleMania. What is it? I think we're like 3-4 weeks away from Elimination Chamber. Oh, right on his face. I haven't talked to the guys, but we may be doing a Revolution watch along possibly. We're working on nailing this new sponsor Game Up. We are in talks, waiting on the confirmation, but we figure why not give them a little, shout out here because, when summer comes, Game Up Hard Hydration is going to be your go-to drink. If you're a fan of Truly, if you're a fan of Corona Seltzer, this thing is like a seltzer and a Gatorade combined, great flavors. It's funny to try and sell it in the winter because what kind of hydration do you need in the winter? But you know, the flavor on these things is next level. Like with a seltzer, it's kind of you get like a hint of flavor, and sometimes they don't nail it. I was talking to a friend the other day about fruit punch flavor in seltzers and how there's not many companies that hit it. Two best fruit punch flavors that I've tried. There's a Flavor Town by Two Roads that is good, but top notch is Game Up Hard Hydration fruit punch. Sorry, I got to do these sales. We try and get this money here. I like that move. Innovative, kind of like double Samoan drop. I feel like this OTM team could be like the next tag team champions in NXT. We trying to. We do this podcast for the love of the game. I think we're all bad salespeople, except AJ will claim to be a salesman, but we're trying to get these sponsorships in here. Like, we do the podcast because we love talking to other fans. We love talking to wrestlers. And Sass, I didn't even see you say this. Crowd seems dead. I'm going to have to watch it back later with the sound up because early on they sounded to be getting it. But here, not so much. This definitely feels like it should be a title match. Maybe they're setting up for a title match down the road. We're definitely going to be starting to reach out to, small businesses that want to advertise on the podcast. Either way, even if we don't get sponsors in here, this is still something that we'll be doing for, the foreseeable future. We've been doing it for 5 years now. The amount of things that have gone on during that time that we've still like proceeded to continue through, not having a sponsor isn't going to deter us. But if you want a sponsor on this podcast, we will go all out for you. You're seeing all the commercials during this. Like even Vinny Barry, that guy is an author that reached out to us. I think we talked to him when he wrote Lance by Chance, sent us a free book, paid us to advertise the book. And then since then, every time he's got a new book, sends one to us, comes on for an interview. And we play those commercials because, if you're hearing a commercial on this podcast, we believe in it. Like that Black Bart book, hit up Vinny Barry on Facebook. Tell him you heard about it from the Working Fans podcast. Get a copy. It is great. If you don't want to read about Black Bart, Pro Wrestling Vault Volume 1 and 2, filled with short stories. That one, I'm going to recommend 2 over 1, even though Vinny Barry is way more happy with 1. But those are just great wrestling stories, and there's so many of them. And as I'm talking over these huge spots from the D'Angelo family, it's funny. I keep wanting to be calling them the Dandy family because in New Heights Wrestling, there is Chris Spider. He's got, he's kind of like a Weasley bad guy that he will take those cheap shots to get the win. He was having the hugest losing streak until he linked up with manager Dandy Jack and Chuck Diamond, who is the muscle of the group, the big guy. I know I'm talking over the winner here, but I keep wanting to be calling this family the Dandy family. Oh, we got an imposter in the crowd. Joe thinks he's out there trying to take my name. That bird is not my doppelganger. That was a good enough mixed tag match. Inoffensive. I thought it was, it didn't overstay its welcome, but I mean, I wouldn't say it's match of the night, but I found it entertaining. I know, and his mom. We got to fact check these things. Bringing back the era of signs in the crowd. And you know what I'm bringing back? I'm bringing back those commercials just to save my voice a little bit.
Hey, all you goddamn wrestling fans out there, listen, Oba Femi has got a book. It's called Wrestle. Right there. It's got some dadgum good stories in there about some dadgum good wrestlers.
Read stories of Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erich, Scott Casey, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Mr. Fuji, Ron Bass, Bruiser Brody, Mike Davis, the Grappler, and many others.
And I guarantee you one thing, that it'll be the best dadgum read you've had in a long, long time.
Get your book today at Russellville.com or on Amazon. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
That commercial ended just in time because I am such a fan of Noam Dar. Now, I was surprised when they put him in with this group, but they seem to really be accentuating him. But he's the one guy, when he first signed with WWE and then his run in WWE NXT UK, I was huge on him, and I just like seeing him continue to get bigger. I mean, this group is definitely a different fit for him, but this is an interesting thing in here. Yeah, sorry, some of these things I'm catching up on for the first time. Lash Legend, former WNBA player, got a lot of flack, I remember, when she was first in NXT. But it seems like this group has also helped to get her over. This is one of the toughest parts to these watch-alongs, is when I get caught up in a video, because a video like that really got me into Noam Dar. Nice, we got a Bron Breaker building video here. Or is it a Carmelo video? Sorry, with the voice, like with the sound down, I'm making assumptions on these videos that I could be dead wrong on when I watch them back later. I was actually messaging the man called Dave at home, letting him know that watch along, it's not the easiest thing I've done, but I think it's going smooth enough. AJ Strange Brew, he's out doing his thing. Now I gotta ask, you guys watch the show. What do you think we should be talking about this Friday? What is the hottest subject in wrestling right now? I feel like Brock getting erased from WWE could be a big thing. Obviously. Oh, an Adobe commercial. Shout out to Adobe Premiere Pro. Big editing software. Sass, what are you watching on? Peacock? Okay, we're outside of the arena. Clarksville, Tennessee. Last train to Clarksville. Bring Me the Horizon. I haven't heard about them in a minute. If we hadn't had a couple of nice, sunny days out here, I would be envious of this video, but the weather has been beautiful. It feels like it's been gray in Connecticut for a month and a half. That is that is an interesting point. I'm gonna have to look in the archives and see if we've done a 5-3-1 on favorite Sting matches. Because, growing up, when I was really getting into wrestling, and Sass, you're probably way too young to remember this, but where Dean's Corner is on the corner of Main Street and Ashland, it used to be a place called Ed's Corner. And it was, like, yeah, it was like a corner store. It was almost like the 80s or the 90s version of like what Country Farms is now, but they had a magazine rack. And I would get the WCW comic book off that magazine rack. And it was a time when Lex Luger was featured. Like Ric Flair was just out of the company. So they were big on Sting. They were big on Luger, Ron Simmons. And Sting, since that time, Surfer Sting has always been a favorite, but Sting has really been one of those, wrestlers that I think about. So it's kind of wild to be coming up to his retirement match. So I'm going to write that down, Sass. And I will probably hit you with a DM soon asking you your top 5 favorite Sting matches. And hold on a second. Let me make a note in my phone here. It's funny. Usually this would be a place where I'd be like, Dave, can you cover for a second so I can do this quick? Anytime you see like Dave start to go on his phone and I take him out of a stream, it's usually because I see he's trying to share something and, I just cover. Like I'll take him out. I'll do some covering. Tonight, you're getting no all killer, no filler. The 5-3-1s haven't had a huge response from people lately, but it's a signature segment. It's an idea we came up with specifically for the podcast to set ourselves apart. And, a couple years ago, we were going strong on it. And we've kind of shied away from it lately because not as many people respond. But I have a feeling that with Sting's last match coming up, that could get some eyes on it. All right, you got to notice that we want Cody sign right behind the camera. I'm almost a little surprised that going into the arena, WWE wouldn't have flagged it in some way. But maybe WWE did this thing on SmackDown just to get this response from people. I don't know. Like I said earlier, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but given the people's response, you'd almost think they'd go in a different direction. Everybody's real down on WWE right now with, the whole Vince McMahon situation and The Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. But overall, the product they've been putting out on, like, those are all serious like, obviously the Vince McMahon thing is a serious subject and hopefully will be dealt with in the right way. But if you want to look at The Rock and Roman, that is a booking decision that even though people might not like it, it's huge. And WWE, for the most part, has really turned things around. If you think about a year or two ago when people were watching AEW and that tended to be the thing that people had more hope in, now I've been like, public opinion is definitely against AEW. And I try and stay an open minded fan, but I find a lot of the time AEW just isn't doing a ton of stuff to draw me in. Like that FTR Daniel Garcia escaped the cage match last week. Hugely excited about it. Still haven't gotten to watch the match. Partly because life comes up and it's on a Saturday night. I'll get back to it. I'll watch it. You know, a lot of NXT or a lot of AEW feels like I can catch up with it. WWE, it feels so hot and such like a big topic that it's like, especially as podcasters, you want to watch it as quick as possible. But just given how many people are talking about it, it feels like the big thing to watch. Now I got to be honest, for the Elimination Chamber coming up this month, I really hope they they treat the Elimination Chamber like they did the Backlash pay-per-view. Oh, the sports store in the mill. Is that when the sports store, is that when the trading card store was in there? I think it was CNS Sports and Hobby. Sass, we may have to take you up on this. We'll see what night. Do you know what night you're watching WrestleMania with the radio crew? Because if that is the night that Dave and I are free, we will definitely talk to you about that. It's been one of the things, like Dave and I privately talk a lot about the connections we've made through the podcast and the people we've met doing this. Like, you know, having the association with Mike Minarski and SN Radio, you know, meeting you at that event. It's happened. Like, I don't know if you've heard the story of how we became wrestling commentators, but back a couple of years ago, we were just doing the podcast. Something we said, apparently we said something funny. It caught somebody's ear, and they put us to this production guy that started hooking us up with post-production commentary for a company called Knockout Wrestling. We did Knockout for a little bit. They faded out. Then we got involved with, I think it was Florida Gulf Coast Wrestling after that. And we just had a moment where I had some footage. I was going to edit it. And I reached out to one of the people that was in the footage. And it just happened that they told us, like, oh, the person that you're editing that for doesn't own the footage. That's mine. So, you know, I was just being honest. I'm like, I had no clue. If you could ever use a post-production commentary person, let us know. And then that's how Dave and myself started working with Princess Josh and New Heights Wrestling. Have you heard any of our New Heights calls, Sass? Because I really enjoyed what we did at the Grizzled Great get together. I can't say enough about how much that event meant to me personally. But if you want to hear Dave and I like doing our best, the latest footage coming out from New Heights Wrestling, the 16th anniversary show, is next level. I've shared a lot of the clips. We called a ladder match for the first time. We called the first ever women's championship match from that they ever had. So we've been calling the tournament. This is where it ended. Oh, you do both nights. Hold on, let me bring up the comment. Well, I will talk to Dave and we could possibly be in for that. I've been talking so much, I've barely paid attention to this match since it started. Oh, I like that roll through. Lyra Valkyria holding that arm. Oh, man, we appreciate that. We've been at it for a couple of years now with New Heights. I think this is our second year. And, you know, we always get feedback on things we could do better. now that we're starting to reach out and interview the wrestlers, we're getting an idea from them. How can we better present you? What can we do to, enhance what we're putting out? We're always trying to get better. Dave and I, we know that we're old enough that we're not going anywhere in the wrestling business, but being able to do it at some level is great. And just being able to improve our skills has been, one of the biggest blessings of the last couple of years. It was actually the 16th anniversary shows that the producer who we send it to, he goes, "Next time you guys ask me what the best match you've ever called is," he goes, "it's anything on this 16th anniversary card." Which that's high praise because they always tend to be critical of us. They will give us compliments, but they're always critical. So to get praise that huge meant the world to us. And like, we're ready for the Bulldog Bash when we get this footage. It's funny. Calling wrestling is much harder than you would expect it to be. And I mean, I'm the color commentator, so I tend to really like write down the stories and try and figure out how to explain how things are going on. And it's always just, a work at it. Sorry, I'm actually getting a message from a wrestler right now about a future interview segment. And it's funny because last year, I think Dave and I did maybe 7 interviews total. And it was the least amount of interviews we've gone out for in a year. And I think we've done like 7 or 8 in the last couple weeks. Sorry, finishing up typing here. But it's always been one of my more favorite parts of the podcast is, it's always great to talk to wrestlers, hearing how they got into the business, hearing what they like, what stories they have. I've been far more interested in now, not to say that it's better than talking to wrestlers, but I've been yeah, the next break, I think I'm definitely gonna run downstairs, get a water out of the fridge, maybe give a couple commercials and a little bit of silence. This match is great, but this definitely feels like the point in the night where it's like, all right, I need to recharge. But yeah, it's been great talking to fans and people outside of the business because when you tell people you're a wrestling fan, I think a lot of the times people look down on you. They bring up the fact that they call it fake when I don't know, it's the most interesting form of entertainment because you got physicality, you have theater, you've got improv, and seeing it from the other side, there's certain things that they hope to line up to happen, but sometimes real life comes in. So it's almost like, are you more interested in the story they're presenting or the story behind the scenes? Sorry, trying to nail down a big up and coming Connecticut wrestler here. Yeah, this almost feels like it could be, if I had to guess, maybe a college arena or. All right, what's going on here? What is this? Some type of Money in the Bank cash in? All right, them making this a triple threat. Is this, oh, breakout tournament contract? Does this being a triple threat make you more or less excited for this match? Because I don't know if it's I'm in the middle of a text, but this has me caring a whole lot less about this run in now. Yeah, this just feels like this match definitely didn't need this. And I mean, if Roxanne Perez wins versus two people, that builds her up bigger, I think. But it just feels like the thing this match just it didn't need. I mean, I guess this is how you get rid of a contract like that. It's weird because it's a nice full crowd, but like I said, I'm gonna have to watch it with the sound up to hear what they say. But yeah, they don't seem terribly excited. All right, texting's out of the way. We are back to this triple threat match. Roxanne Perez handling it like a champ in the ring, though. Now, with all the recent WWE news, are you going to be like, is Raw what must watch tomorrow, do you think? I miss those days of NXT, like early NXT when it was first on the network, when you had Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. Hell, I liked it when who's Juice Robinson back then? CJ Parker. That was my time. You had I think Claudio had just left. But yeah, that was a prime time in NXT. And then when they had that misstep with NXT 2.0, but I think with this newest one, they've really brought it back. My only problem is, like I said, I don't watch it enough. So there's so many people that I'm not aware of. And it's weird because usually I like staying like when I watch baseball, I liked watching the minor leagues because I like being aware of the guys that are coming up. Big spin kick there. Roxanne right on the roll up. I was calling it because I thought she had the win there. Oh, wow. So Corey Graves was still in the ring when you were watching that. Yeah, because it seems like there was an even older version of NXT. Yeah, because there was the NXT, the reality show. Then there was the NXT right before they went on the network. Oh, fuck that. You've definitely clearly built another feud for Roxanne Perez. You keep your ladies champion in there, but that uh, I'm sorry that it was a little disappointing. And like Sass said, it's about to be a snack break. So you're about to hear a commercial. You're going to get a little bit of silence, and then I will be back behind the mic. So if you didn't know, this watch along is presented by Game Up Hard Hydration. Here's a little commercial to tell you about them.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store.
Hey, all you got jump wrestling fans out there, listen, Oba Femi has got a book. It's called Wrestle. Right there. It's got some dead jump good stories in there about some dead jump good wrestlers.
Read stories of Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erich, Scott Casey, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Mr. Fuji, Ron Bass, Bruiser Brody, Mike Davis, the Grappler, and many others.
And I guarantee you one thing, that it'll be the best dadgum read you've had in a long, long time.
Get your book today at Russellville.com or on Amazon. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
So, Sass, I got to ask, what's the snack that you got for the Vengeance Day tonight? Whenever we have a watch along here, it always tends to be pizza, wings, maybe a little ice cream if we're getting wild with it. Tonight, I am just solo, so I've got my non-athletic greens and my Game Up Hard Hydration. So how healthy is that snack you getting? Because like us, we just always eat like crap. It's actually one of the things that I always joke with Dave about because he started eating a lot better since he got together with his girlfriend. So now anytime Dave eats something that like seems a little unhealthy, like if we're having pizza with pepperoni, I'll take a picture of it and I'll always hit him with the hashtag don't tell Jen. Chex Mix and iced tea. That is definitely a healthier mix than we would have picked. At least our fans eat better than we do. Speaking of eating, this is going to be a Jewett City centric comment, but I almost had a heart attack this week when I thought May's Kitchen closed down. When it comes to Jewett City, we've got like 3 Chinese food places, and May's Kitchen has, I think it's been far and away my favorite. Like chopsticks, I always enjoyed chopsticks, but when I started eating at May's Kitchen, it's been amazing. I actually went over by there today. I went to the liquor store next door and I saw there was a sign up. And if I read it correctly, I think they're open back up on my birthday, February 12th. So, or it could be February 13th. They could be closed until the 12th, opening the 13th. But I believe they're coming back. I hope they are because otherwise I'm either going to have to go to Chopsticks or that place that's next to the haircut place. But that's for everybody living in Jewett City, if you're lucky enough to. All right, this Chase U calendar still making a big deal about it. I don't know if this dude's a member of Chase U, but that's almost like the awkward fan interaction. I don't know if they're trying to reference that. Okay. I don't know. I'm feeling this feels like a Bray Wyatt almost promo. Obviously, I know it's not, but it has me very interested to see who it's about. What the fuck? That's the best part of wrestling, though, when you have something like that that has you interested, but you don't get the payoff right away. But it's always been the thing that's frustrated me. Is this okay? NXT Battleground, May 26th. That okay? NXT Roadblock. Okay, so Roadblock's on a Tuesday, so that's just like a named episode. Battleground seems to be the next big event, late May. So I'm gonna say that yes, we do have whatchamacallit. We will have NXT involvement at WrestleMania. Now let me move this because I'm gonna put up the clip for our next match. And I want to get to this comment because if we're gonna be talking, when is stand and delivered? I must have missed the graphic for that because I saw this comment and I have tried the new Rubinos. And I'm sad to say I've eaten there twice. I got the same thing both times because it was like the vodka pasta. It is amazing. I love seeing that place so busy every time I go there. And like I hope they keep on because there's been a couple restaurants that have tried filling that space, but you're bringing back the Rubino's name. I think the food is killer. And like I said, I hope they stay busy. I'm very excited for this North American Championship match. Big fan of Dragon Lee. He had some matches with, he was called Kamatachi at the time, but when he went back to New Japan, he became Hiromu Takahashi, and they put on some of the wildest matches I've seen live. This guy looks like an absolute killer making his way to the ring. I love this entrance. Another guy not hugely familiar with, but okay, April 6th, Stand and Deliver. So yeah, that changes things. I think any NXT involvement you have on WrestleMania, if that's the case, is going to be people moving up. So I'm going to say probably that would be Breaker's, official move up to the main roster. It's kind of all speculation because it's tough when guys leave NXT. Sometimes there's a clean break, and then sometimes it's almost like they have business that has to be finished in NXT. He definitely so not seeing him in the ring yet, he definitely looks the part. Great size. Looks very intimidating in that ring. I'm almost surprised that he hasn't moved up, but I'm going to have to see during the match, like how smooth he is. Does he come off as green? But they do this great thing in NXT where they'll get people in NXT and then they don't put them on TV for a while. And then, they come up slowly. And then it's like this name that gets big almost out of nowhere. Like, I didn't pay attention to the breakout tournament, so I was very surprised when I heard this guy won the North American Championship. But I mean, looking at him, it's not surprising. I like that we're getting this classic, size versus speed matchup here. And it's like, given Dragon Lee's skill, you get the idea that he should be the one that would win. But Oba Femi just looks so dangerous that I don't know. It's hard to call. Like, I can't. To me, it's not as clear who's going to win this. Dragon Lee always with that great dive to the outside that happened a little bit ago. Big right hand from Femi. Lee is staggered on the steps. Femi picks Lee up. Got to wonder where he's going to drop him. Walking him up the steps. This is something else. Not a bad point, Sass. Yeah, with all the hype that Dragon Lee came in with, he should have been, win that North American Championship, hold on to it for a while, have, like a year worth of great premium live event matches, and then make his way up to the main roster. And I don't know, like I haven't watched a lot of NXT, so I can't speak wholly on it, but just to see that he's not a giant star is kind of surprising. Big stomp there out of the corner. Yeah, that is one thing that I'm hoping that they learn to fix, because outside of Rey Mysterio, maybe Eddie Guerrero, how many luchadors have really thrived within the system? Everybody likes to talk about, the original Sin Cara and the mistakes he made, how they ended up having to have another Sin Cara. And like aside from Rey Mysterio, you haven't had that big lucha libre superstar in there. I feel like Dom is on his way, but the way that Dominic wrestles like isn't necessarily lucha. It's like a WWE type lucha. But like you get an Andrade, you get a Dragon Lee, Santos Escobar could be another one. Like if you get these guys and build up like a roster of guys similar to that, you could be having great matches. Kalisto definitely should have been great. Even the one that followed, the one that was, oh God, I'm trying to remember. I think the original Sin Cara was Mystico. And then Kalisto was another one, filled in, had some great matches. Lucha House Party with him and I believe it was Lince Dorado was a great team that they caught some fire for a little bit. But the way WWE presented them, they almost felt like a solid mid-card act. You were seeing Femi just abuse Dragon Lee here. Grand Metalik, another good one. It was one of those things when they announced the Cruiserweight Classic and I saw some of the names they had in there. I had such high hopes for what it could do. And, you know, we went on, like, if nothing else, we discovered a lot of great luchadors that had their time in WWE, and then we've seen them do great things elsewhere. But I think as WWE fans, we'd like to see that style kind of incorporated into like this type product. There's been talks of, I think you can count Ricochet as lucha just given his style and how he kept it high flying. Now we saw how they did NXT UK. There's been talk of NXT Japan. How great would NXT Mexico be? The problem with when they bring these different NXTs to different countries is you really kind of hurt the local scene there and take a lot of their top talent. And then that starts becoming yours. So on the upside, you get the chance to discover new people and you also kind of see what that next level is on there. Author Jake St. John joining in. Thank you, Jake. This is a tough one tonight because AJ ain't here. Dave was unavailable and we tried running it on our own. Me and Sass have been having a great conversation. Jake, what do you think about Oba Femi? You think he's keeping this title here tonight? That would be insane, and we'll have to give it a couple years to see if it's even possible. I would love it to be because now that Vince is out, I think WWE could have their representation of these different styles from around the world and what the WWE UK style would be, what the WWE Japanese style would be. You know, you're seeing that size versus speed on display here right now where Dragon Lee being able to get the more athletic moves on Femi just powering through it. It's kind of wild to think that we just have one more match left. Jake, I've been saying that same thing. I'm such a Dragon Lee guy that I would like to see him win, but what does that do to an Oba Femi if you have a guy like Dragon Lee's size beat him? No matter the skill that he puts in, you're trying to build up Oba Femi to be a killer. So I'd like to hope we see Dragon Lee on the main roster soon. I know almost made us return at the Royal Rumble. That was another big guy that you would figure, put him in limited spots. Like, I wouldn't even have him be in matches, just have him be that big bad enforcer on the outside. But I think that was one of the things that really had me wondering if Vince had lost it, because for years, WWE was so good at portraying big men in the ring. And then when you have Omos out there and it's like you have this guy that is the biggest that we've seen in a while, looked like something in the ring. Like, I'm not going to say he looked great in the ring. He looked imposing. But WWE never seemed to capitalize on it. And he's just been, putting him with MVP was a good pivot, but I don't think Omos is necessarily the most exciting match I could ever hope to hop in a ring. Big power bomb from Dragon Lee in the corner there. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Somebody costing Dragon the match, give a DQ out. Jake, do you remember a few years ago when Dragon Lee was wrestling Hiromu Takahashi now, but was known as Kamatachi on his excursion to America? Those were some of the best matches I've seen. And even if you look up ones that didn't happen here, like they had a wild one in Mexico that really stood out. Femi versus Moose would be something. And I think it would be a perfect time to do it now because Moose has had a couple years to, get that skill underneath him, and he could probably put Femi through a good match. Dragon Lee is, he's got the skill, he's got the experience to put Femi through this match, but just that battle of the big men would be great. I'm really hoping they don't bury Dragon Lee again. There's got to be a way for him to get out of this, I'm hoping. Yeah, I remember seeing one live for Ring of Honor that really put me on to how wild the matches were. And then I looked up a match they did in Mexico that was wild. They did wild matches. I'm trying to think. NEW probably had a wild match or two of theirs. That was one of my favorite runs when Hiromu was on excursion. It was the same time that Yo and Sho were over here as the Tempura Boys. And the Tempura Boys name made me laugh. But then when you saw those guys in the ring in a lot of opening matches, they definitely stood out. I got to say, I'm liking this NXT show. It looks like we could almost be getting done with this by 10:30. Okay, it's a logical win for Femi, so I'm not going to hate it too much. And I mean, it almost feels like Dragon Lee is getting the Cody treatment. And I'm going to say it because it definitely feels like WWE does this thing where they'll bring people in and it's a huge deal, but then they almost immediately screw themselves by going to the next person that's big on their thing. So, like, let's say you bring in Dragon Lee, you're excited about him, but he came from somewhere else. You've got this guy, Oba Femi, probably a former athlete that they're working on trying to build, and then that becomes the focus. Now, this guy didn't look terrible in the ring. Definitely an imposing force. So I like it. Yeah, Jake, that is actually the reason. So I was talking about it earlier, but these NXT shows, I don't keep up with the weekly shows, but I've been watching the pay-per-views because they're great. And when Dave and AJ weren't able to make it, I'm like, you know what? I like these NXT shows so much. I'm just gonna sit down. I'm gonna talk to the people. And we've had good turnouts with these. I expect this to do like a little less than our TNA watch along did. Obviously, Survivor Series was big with the Punk comeback. Royal Rumble was big because of the Punk appearance. But we're going to try and hit as many watch alongs as we can this year. We've been making more of a push to do more interviews. I was talking about that earlier. Like all of last year, I think we might have done 7 interviews total. Oh, we got a live Boston show 7-1. Check what day that is. Is that a Friday or Saturday? Yeah, Femi definitely has a main roster written all over him. And Jake, while you contemplate that fact, I'm going to play a quick commercial because we got Lexus King looking at calendars, and I'm a little sad that he's not Brian Pillman Jr. But you know what I'm not sad about is Game Up Hard Hydration.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store.
Rock's daughter getting some screen time here. So we got a Monday Night Raw in Boston. Interesting question. Like, I don't know. I can see doing the name change. So, like, I'm not upset that they changed his name. I'm gonna go with worst name ever. It would be funny if it wasn't Brian Pillman Jr. and there wasn't so much like importance behind that name. Gotta stay hydrated. I've got the Game Up Hard Hydration. I've got my unathletic greens next to me. And you know what else I got sitting next to me? It's a little book.
Hey, all you goddamn wrestling fans out there, listen, Oba Femi has got a book. It's called Wrestle. Right there. It's got some dadgum good stories in there about some dadgum good wrestlers.
Read stories of Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erich, Scott Casey, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Mr. Fuji, Ron Bass, Bruiser Brody, Mike Davis, the Grappler, and many others.
And I guarantee you one thing, that it'll be the best dadgum read you've had in a long, long time.
Get your book today at Russellville.com or on Amazon. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I don't know what name I would have been happy with them changing it to. Like, I think the money is just behind, Brian Pillman Jr., but Jake, have you checked out the book yet? Because if you haven't bought it, highly recommend messaging Vinny Berry on Facebook. This book, like, I wasn't aware of Black Bart going into it. There are so many good stories. And the thing that Bart did that Vinny talked about in our interview was he kept, I'm loving this Axiom Nathan Frazier team. They were such a good feud and then coming together as a team. But Black Bart basically like journaled on audio tapes. And I think that's why the detail in this book is so deep. Now, who is the team on the left here? Yeah, NXT I'd say the only dip they really had was when they were NXT 2.0, but even then, okay, Edris Enough and Malik Blade. But even when they were NXT 2.0, you still knew that you were seeing that next generation of WWE stars. And see, after the show that we've seen tonight, and now they're hyping NXT like that, that is a great way to push you towards the show. Love to hear it, Jake. If you order from him on Facebook, let him know you heard on the Working Fans podcast. Or even if you're ordering on Amazon, send him a message on Facebook and let him know you heard from us, because as much as we try and do for these companies, we hope people, buy the products that we're hyping. Definitely let the companies know you heard it here from us, because Vinny Barry was, he's just been so great to us, and being able to help him sell his books, especially when they are so solid, has been one of the greatest things. Ilya or Trick, this is going to hurt my soul because I'm a huge Ilja Dragunov fan, but it's got to be Trick Williams. Like, we were in the arena in Bridgeport. I heard how big the crowd was behind him. I think it'd be crazy not to put it on him here. If he doesn't win it here, he's winning it at Stand and Deliver. But I mean, I could even see Melo costing him the title down the line. Trick has to take him on, and then maybe after that, he goes after the title. I don't know. But the way that I heard Bridgeport go wild, and you're seeing the video of it there, got to be Trick Williams. Now, Jake, while we have you in the chat, do you got any books coming out? Are you working on anything set for release? What can the people buy from you? Because I got to tell you, you got to check out Jake St. John's YouTube channel. Started reading his poems on there. It's a great thing. We're going to have him on the Working Fans podcast again for it. It's one of those things that, like, I'm such a fan of Jake's work that even though our audience might not be a poetry audience, I want to get it in there for them to check it out, because oh God, now I'm going to fuck up the name of Jake's books when I'm trying to read them. So I'm going to play a quick commercial while I turn around and grab a couple off the shelf.
Read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by Russellville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harris, and Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories, including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at Russellville.com. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
Now, I don't know why I doubted myself there for a minute, because the names of those books are, oh, Jesus Christ, I hit the wrong fucking button. That was supposed to be applause. The books are Lip Sleeve Scars, Night Full of Diamonds, and Lost City Highway. Buy them on Amazon.com, but also message Jake St. John. Let him know you heard from him on the Working Fans podcast. Working on a manuscript right now. Is that anything you could talk about publicly, or is this something we're working on behind the scenes? Melo screws Trick. I'm calling it. I like that. I mean, I feel like Trick's got to win it, but I feel like if he's not winning it, then Melo is costing him. And maybe that match earlier could have done it. Sorry, guys, that I'm tripping up on my words, messing up Jake's books, but it is very tough to do a 2-hour plus podcast on your own. I couldn't do it without Randy Osgood, Jake St. John, Sean Sass in the comments. Now, I don't have my sound up, but how loud is that arena cheering for Whoop That Trick right now? Because I believe we still have it up on our YouTube. I have a short of the crowd in Bridgeport going wild for Trick. It's 10 o'clock, and the main event is just getting in the ring. 10:06 technically, but I can't tell you how much I love this. Interesting. Sorry, Jake. That's just an interview. The interviewer in me always, I'm interested in what the author has out now and what they're promoting, but there's something in my brain that's like, what's the next project? What's next on the horizon? So thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely going to have to get a signed copy of that from you when that gets out. Taking in this Dragunov entrance. But I wanted to say, like, if you guys like the Working Fans podcast, trust me, pick up. If you yourself don't like poetry, you've got a mom, you got a sister, you got a girlfriend, you have somebody that enjoys it, and you're going to want to get them a Jake St. John book. Crowd isn't mic'd well at all. Like I said, I'm going to have to watch this later with the sound up. Lost City Highway, if I'm remembering it correctly, Jake, a tribute to New London. Night Full of Diamonds. I just love the cover. And because just Starry Night, you got to love the stars in the sky. And Lip Sleeve Scars. Great idea that you were talking about collaboration with your girlfriend, Jen. And Black Bart is ordered. Love it. Just let Vinny Barry know you heard about it through us. And Jake, when you read that book, let me know what you think about it, because it's funny. Even when like Vinny reaches out to me and Imposter Joe is back, and Imposter Joe's mom is back in the crowd. I bet that's not even his mom. Awesome. We got a little bit of a secret project. So if you're watching this live stream, shut the fuck up. Let Jake start selling this and buy it and support it. This guy is such a great wrestler. I feel like, you know, if he got called up to the main roster, he could get sucked into Imperium. Here it is. Jake St. John is trying to get babies made a week before Valentine's Day. But yeah, I can't speak highly enough about Jake's books. I've gotten so many things from Jake, and just, you know, getting to collaborate with him, getting to help him kick off his YouTube channel. That was one of the things I've enjoyed so much. Like, it's weird because, you know, we're a wrestling podcast. We do comedy, we do MMA. And when you're in YouTube, they tell you to niche down, like find like your lane. But when I find like an artist I like Jake, known him for years, then you read these poems that he's putting out. It's amazing. band like When the Deadbolt Breaks when I was doing the music cast. Just wanted to interview them to get them in. This definitely has a big match feel, Jake. And Sass, I got to ask you, being a newer fan, do you feel we're too broad with the things that we like the things that we talk about? Like, do we talk about too much music? Because, I'm the guy, like, I love doing the wrestling podcast, but I like talking to musicians. I like talking to authors. I like just helping people promote the art that they're putting out there. That is a good question, and I'm gonna Google that I'm gonna check that on Cage Match, Jake, because part of me wants to say progress. I mean, I'm about to be all Jewett City ignorant and say I bet this dude wrestles in Russia, but we'll find out. Big things possibly on the horizon for Working Fans podcast. Looking at getting a new job, so it's going to switch up my schedule a little bit if I get it, but could we be working in more interviews? Of course, I spelled Ilja Dragunov wrong. Reading a comment from Sass here. And that's what I'm trying to do, because like anything that I put out there, to some degree, I think the people would enjoy it just as much as wrestling. The only thing that was really an outlier was interviewing Naomi from Colton, Connecticut, because she's somebody I went to high school with, has this wild story about being in a cult that came from this town, that it's like, I got to share that. But if I'm sharing music with you, whether it's Camouflage, whether it's When the Deadbolt Breaks, I think it's something that a wrestling fan might like. Plus, I think like if you like us, this is us telling you other things we're into. Yeah, this is another thing how, pro wrestling's always kind of the focus of this show, but bring it to another degree. We talked to comedians. We had Dame FK on here. We've got Pat O2 as a returning guest. It's finding like-minded individuals that like things and have a place to share what they like. It, to a degree, Jake, and I look at it as a much lower level of what the Ham Jammers group is doing, but it's kind of that thing. Like, come here. We talk pro wrestling. They talk music. But if you're creative, let us know what you do. Get in the conversation. All right, I'm looking up Ilja Dragunov's career. And so there's a lot of promotions I'm not familiar with, but I'm seeing he starts in WXW in Germany in 2013. He's doing some CZW around that time. Does WXW right up until 2020. Started in Progress in 2018. Did some PWG around that time. 2019 was when Dragunov seemed to first get into WWE, had some access with ICW. So, guy definitely coming from the German scene. Yeah, it was wild that it was in this town and I never knew. And then when I talked to people like friend of the show, Josh Lucas, he knew all about it. Apparently, I was friends with people in high school that were in this group and I never knew. And I think that's one of the wild things with coming up in high school. Like, everybody feels like an outcast and everybody feels weird. And it's because that's how life is. Life is weird for everybody. You don't know what different people have going on. And then like when you hear the stories, later you're like, oh, that's wild. I can't believe you went through that. But you didn't know they were going through that because you were going through your own thing. So that was one reason why it was great to talk to Naomi, hear that story, let her promote her podcast, but then also kind of get an understanding of what was going on. Oh, sorry, I'm reacting very late to that Death Valley driver on the apron. That thing was amazing. But yeah, we try and have like an all-inclusive vibe here. That was one of the main reasons why I created the Working Fans Presents show, because Working Fans Presents still has it under our podcast banner, but it's kind of like, more out there of what they like. Sass, if you, Jake, both of you guys, or anybody watching, if there's anybody you ever want to see us feature on the show, interview, hook us up, give us the DMs, like let us know, like put us in contact with them, because especially wrestlers always looking to get more wrestling interviews. But Jake, any authors that want to get their work out there, one of the biggest things, one of the greatest joys I've had is being able to talk to these artists about their art and then promote it to possibly like a whole nother audience. Plus, at my heart, I'm just a book fan. So if you're out there taking the time to write a book, I'd love to read it. I'd love to talk to you about it. And I'm doing all that talking during this match where these guys are beating the hell out of each other. You see all the blood coming out of them. Whew. Yeah, and Jake, back to the Ham Jammers thing. I've always kind of felt like this podcast is kind of building a little community, and I love the vibe that Ham Jammers has. Like, I might not be into the jam scene of music, but the passion that everybody brings into that and how everybody can post in that group, like that's kind of been, a little bit of the inspiration for what I'm trying to do here, obviously in a more combat sports, wrestling centric way. And actually, one thing, if I can recommend to you guys, a guy I work with on a different podcast, it's called the More Perfect Union. I'm a rotating guest on there, but the host is Kevin Kelton. Used to write on SNL, used to write on Night Court. He's gotten episodes on the Jeffersons. Kevin Kelton is a hilarious guy, but he recently appeared on the Pod Meets World podcast to talk to the people on there about writing on Boy Meets World. I'm such a Boy Meets World fan, so knowing Kevin and having worked with him, getting to hear his experience, that is one episode I have to highly recommend for you. Nice, Jake. I'm gonna have to hit you up in text soon and see if you can connect us or even reach out to him. Would he be interested in coming on? Maybe I can do an interview where him and you talk a little bit. I'm always interested to hear different perspectives out there. I was talking earlier how we're really making a push to get more sponsors and get people behind this podcast. So, we're just trying to make 2024 bigger. We're trying to do more shows. We're trying to do, reaching out shows. Appreciate that. Working Fans Community is a killer. Do me a favor. If you go on Facebook, go in the Working Fans Podcast Nation of Domination. When you go to the group page, click invite and just add anybody on your friends list that you think would be into us, because I've been trying to grow that group, and the more people we can get, the better. I always go through and try and invite people that I don't think I've invited before. Trick just looks special. See, Trick looks a step above what Oba Femi looked. Oba Femi looked great in the ring, but Trick just looks a level above that. Sass, so into this. If I wasn't talking so much, I'd be into this main event, but now that we're talking about like all the other things and the things that I enjoy doing with Working Fans podcast, I'm just getting behind it. So I'm getting too excited here. Boy Meets World was great, and I recommend the Pod Meets World podcast. I don't listen to it a ton. I'm going to be honest. I had to tune in for that Kevin Kelton episode because, listen to the More Perfect Union if you like political talk. It's real debate without the hate. But Pod Meets World featuring Kevin Kelton, great episode. Love the support, guys. Me and Dave always talk about, like, it's important what me and him do with this podcast, but it's great when we have, fans and friends like Jake that reach out, love to. Oh, that did not look great. Oh. Yeah, the way they're featuring Mello after that did not look good, though. And guys, thank you for putting up with the Sorry, got a little tickle in my throat there. Thank you for putting up with the different format tonight. Since it was a solo podcast, I didn't know how interesting it would just be to have my face up there. And of course, I've been talking so much that I forgot to put up the graphic for this match. Does anyone look better with blood than Ilja Dragunov? I'm not going to say blood is important to wrestling matches, but it seems like every time Ilja gets bloodied up during a match, it just makes it look that much more exciting. I appreciate that, Sass. We've been noticing definitely an uptick in the numbers on our watch-alongs. The numbers are great, but the conversations are better because, it's like now, instead of just you and a buddy watching it, you're talking to like 2-3 people. We've got you, Randy, Jake in the comments, everybody else watching. It's a great experience, and it gets me a little more excited for things. I got to admit, I was a little intimidated doing this solo tonight because anytime you got to be responsible for all the things in StreamYard, the pulling up graphics, doing the different things, it can get to be a bit much. And even this, like, I'm watching the show, but I'm almost getting caught up in what do you guys think about it? How are you enjoying the show? So thank you guys so much for being here. Oh, Dragunov, it looks like he's going for the kill here. Just the strength it takes to throw a man like that. Looks like Dragunov's giving it all the ring in there. Giving it all in the ring. Yeah, it was funny. It was one of those things that you brought up a couple days ago. We hadn't planned on it, so I reached out to the guys. Dave said he was definitely out. AJ was ambiguous. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just get it done because if people are asking for it, there's interest there. And I had the idea that I could at least keep it. I'm caught up because Mello looks stunned there, but I had the feeling that I could at least keep it vaguely entertaining going through. And I'm going to see where the numbers on this fall. I feel like it's not going to get a Royal Rumble or Survivor Series type number. I'm thinking it's going to go a little under TNA just because TNA had all the hype with the name coming back, and this feels like an end right here. 2, throw! I thought for sure he had it there. This is one thing we're terrible about too, is reactions. Like, if you heard our reaction with CM Punk coming out, oh, it's very tough on a Sunday. This is convenient for nobody. It's only convenient for me right now because I am on second shift. I'm working hard on getting off second shift. So we're going to see how that works. And of course, the ref bump has to affect this. Oh, no. Jake, you feeling a dusty finish here? I don't like this other ref sliding in the ring so easy. Yeah, first shift is where it's at. It's kind of a wild story, and I don't want to bring the, mood of everything down so much, but it was, God, last week, 4 years ago, I lost my dad. And after that happened, I was working full time at a job I hated. I was getting a lot of shit. And I just said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. So I stepped down. I did part time, and I was like, I'm going to make it work. Eventually, found another full time job, but it was on second shift. So I'm like, I'm going to make that work for a little bit. Now I'm on the cusp of getting a full time on first shift job, going to be riding the coast. And I'm hoping for it because, like, the one thing I really miss is like eating with my family every night. But thanks, Sass. It's one of those things. Luckily, as the years go on, I'm not going to say it gets easier to deal with, but things change. And now it's like, I feel like I'm getting back to where I was before he died, and I was okay with my job. I want to go back to working a full-time job that I love. Like, I love where I'm at now, but second shift is just dog shit. Dragunov with the pin. Oh, wow. I thought that was only a 2. That is the pin. So you can hear the disappointment in the crowd. I feel like this is the start of the divide between Trick and Carmelo. Yeah, it's tough and draining because a lot of the world is on first shift. And, I knew I was taking a chance stepping down from a job I hated. And now I'm right back. I'm so close to being back on first shift. And shout out to anybody on first shift. You guys, it's I I didn't appreciate it enough when I was on it. And now that I'm living more of like this nightlife, it's a different change. But Dragunov got the win. We got to talk about some real life here. Sorry, I'm going to take in this finish real quick. Or not this finish, but this highlight video. Now, I don't think Trick losing this match is going to hurt him a ton. I think you're only building him up for a bigger win. And that's got to come WrestleMania weekend, if ever. Because, like, I remember how the crowd sounded for him. I'm going to watch it back with sound, but I imagine the crowd tonight was, hopefully somewhat close. Well, Jake, I don't know if you caught the news earlier, but I think we're going to be doing a 5-3-1 on favorite Sting matches since Sting is retiring soon. So expect that for Friday. We're going to talk about The Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. So many things coming up, so many great interviews coming up. I want to thank everybody for being in the comments oh no, here it is. Right after that signature. It's funny. I was getting ready to wrap things up, but I thought about that NXT thing where you put up the signature and it felt like it was going a little long. Man, it's Black History Month. I don't know how I feel about this attack. We definitely needed it, and you can hear, like, from what I can hear, the crowd sounds vocal. Sass, were you ever lucky enough to see Mello on the Indies up here? Oh, really going at that leg? Sorry, I got a little bit of a stunned silence here. Does somebody come out to help Trick? Nice. Yeah, it was great to see this guy come up in the Indies in the Northeast and to see the level that he's at now. I mean, I felt the same way when Oni Lorcan was on NXT. Biff Busick was big in the Northeast. Feel the same way about Dijak. There's, God, the wrestlers that you can go through that came up through this area. No, and that's why I think it's not terrible that Trick lost here, because I feel like you've almost made a bigger superstar from him losing and getting beat down. You know, that babyface has got to climb a bigger mountain going up. See, overall, these NXT pay-per-views, these are the way to go. Like, you look at it, we had a great card. We're getting a little, like, afterbirth on the action here. And it's still just been, like, 2.5-hour show. AEW could learn from the, try to keep things a little bit more brief. WWE pay-per-views, they're going to be what they're going to be. I can't believe like they're hyping this press event too much. I don't know if people get behind it. That was a great show, Sass. Thank you for joining in the watch along. Thank you everybody for joining in the watch along. Don't forget, like, subscribe, rate, review wherever you can. And one last time tonight, I got to take you to Wrestleville.
Read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by Russellville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harris, and Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at Russellville.com. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.